Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about a story that is broken as an exclusive from the DailyWire that maybe and hopefully refers to an isolated incident where FEMA, under the direction of a supervisor, was told not to go and inform people victimized by Hurricane Helene or the other storms that we heard about their benefits if those homes had Trump signs on them. And at first I thought maybe this is just ridiculous and absurd right-wing disinformation like the media always warns me about, but it turns out post the publication of this story to the Daily Wire, they have confirmed this. They're saying that they're investigating it, they're saying that it's isolated, and they will deliver consequences to those individuals who denied crucial services to people based on their political affiliation. Now, we're going to get into this, we're going to talk about this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So the headline from the Daily Wire is as follows. Exclusive. FEMA official orders relief workers to skip houses with Trump signs. And this comes from a whistleblower who says it's almost unbelievable to think that somebody in federal government would think that's okay. So there's a couple of things that I want to get out of the way first. Obviously, this is absolutely horrible, disgusting behavior from federal government employees. But to be clear, as of right now, we don't know how isolated versus widespread this phenomenon is. However, it does kind of shine a new light on the way the media was covering Trump's reaction to the response in rural areas only a month ago when this was occurring.
It's gross, but it's dangerous. Listen, Donald Trump worked directly with FEMA, and I would actually argue that of all the government agencies I've ever worked with, FEMA may be the most effective at executing their job. Pete Gaynor, the former administrator under Donald Trump, was one of the core response efforts behind the COVID response, but also many natural disasters that Donald Trump had to oversee. He knows this information isn't true, and it has real-life consequences on the ground. Volunteers have been depressed because they think that there's not a need or they're not able to get to where they need to be. FEMA's spending resources, as you said, to knock down these lies. And then you have people who desperately need help who are being told there's no help to get when in fact there are quite a lot of federal resources out there. And I would just note, America's adversaries love this. This is a field day for Russia and China, who are going to then amplify it on social media ahead of the election to just stoke fear and tear us apart. This is, listen, everything becomes politicized a month out from an election, but this is a step further that I've never really seen something like this when you're dealing with multiple horrible natural disasters at the same time. And it just shows Donald Trump is willing to go so low.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to show you that news coverage, because they're hypercritical of the evil orange man for suggesting that the agency known as FEMA would dare do something political against Trump supporters, against rural people that happen to be affected by these storms, even though we find out through these text messages that at least so far in this isolated incident that absolutely was happening, and FEMA is acknowledging that. But in addition to that original reason why I wanted to show you it, this is also going to be, mark my words, the explanation that the federal government uses going forward to excuse this behavior. They're going to say that the Trump supporters were ginned up with all this hysteria from the evil orange man. Therefore, for the safety of the FEMA employees, we wanted to keep them away from these conspiracy nuts that would hurt them based on the misinformation and disinformation from the evil orange man. If you don't believe me, mark my words today and check back in this video when the government provides their official explanation. The article reads as follows. A federal disaster relief official ordered workers to bypass the homes of Donald Trump supporters as they surveyed the damage caused by Hurricane Milton in Florida, according to internal correspondence obtained by the Daily Wire and confirmed by multiple federal employees. A FEMA supervisor told workers in a message to, quote, avoid homes advertising Trump as they canvassed Lake Placid, Florida, to identify residents who could qualify for federal aid, internal messages viewed by the Daily Wire reveal. The supervisor, Marnie Washington, relayed this message both verbally and in a group chat used by the relief team, multiple government employees told the Daily Wire. So I want to make an absolutely crucial point about the FEMA employees that came forward to the Daily Wire in order to reveal this information and expose this scandal. These are good, honest, moral people that had a problem with this, that didn't like this behavior, that decided to reveal it to the world, because just because you work for a federal government agency doesn't necessarily mean that you're evil or part of an evil organization at its core. It just so happens to be that there are problems with certain people put in management positions like this one, and those people issue orders, and for the most part, most people seem to go along with those orders. That appears to be what happened, at least in this isolated incident in this portion of Florida during this particular storm. That being said, obviously there is a problem structurally when you have somebody in a high-ranking position and they give a seemingly politically motivated order, whether or not they have a backwards justification about how Trump supporters are conspiracy nuts or not, and this has dire consequences for those people who suffered significant damage during the course of this storm, because it turns out they may have missed crucial opportunities to apply for FEMA aid programs that they are supposed to be entitled to as American citizens, and that is just unacceptable. The government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October into November due to the guidance, meaning they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images shared with the Daily Wire show that houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote in a government system messages such as, quote, "Trump sign, no entry per leadership." It is unclear whether the same guidance was issued elsewhere in the country. The employees were a part of a Department of Homeland Security surge capacity force team, meaning they volunteered from other DHS agencies to help and understaff FEMA, as it has dealt with a second major hurricane in the span of just a few weeks. So yeah, the Daily Wire has images, and by the way, they are in this article. They're not just speaking of these images as if they don't exist. And one of those images is this text message that I will put on screen for you that is in their Microsoft group chat. So this is for Crew 33, as you can see on your screen, and it says implement best practices. And bulletin point 1 is not one goes anywhere alone. Bulletin point 2, however, is the one that we're interested in, says avoid homes advertising Trump. It also says practice de-escalation and preventative measures, communicate and follow the rules, bring a towel with you in the field tomorrow, take frequent breaks for water, avoid high salt diets and coffee. Coconut water is the fastest way to replenish your electrolytes quickly. So if you guys want to know how I know the eventual explanation for this is going to be, oh look, the supervisor wasn't politically motivated, this just happened to be about safety. It's by the fact that this directive of not going to homes that advertise Trump is in the middle of a directive or a list of directives that all talk about safety and making sure that you're healthy. Avoid the high salt, high caffeine diet. Make sure you hydrate, drink a lot of water. Coconut water is great for your electrolytes. Bring a towel with you. Of course, don't go anywhere alone. Remember to de-escalate situations, and also avoid homes that advertise Donald Trump. And the reason they're going to say that this is acceptable is because they're going to blame the evil orange man for ginning up hysteria, thus making these people a higher risk for violence. Therefore, they need to be denied the right to emergency services by FEMA. That's absolutely disgusting. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. And again, at least in this particular area by this group, which by the way are 13 people, 20 homes were skipped over, supposedly for expressly advertising Donald Trump. Quote, "I know they're short-staffed. I thought we could go and help and make a difference," one of the employees said. Quote, "When we got there, we were told to discriminate against people. It's almost unbelievable to think that somebody in the federal government would think that's okay." The employee said it felt wrong to discriminate against Trump supporters when they were, quote, most vulnerable. Quote, "I volunteered to help disaster victims, not discriminate against them," the employee said. "It didn't matter to me if they were black, white, Hispanic, for Trump, for Harris. Everyone deserves the same amount of help." So again, as you can see right there, you have a federal government employee. They volunteered to go work for FEMA because they were under another agency under the Department of Homeland Security, so they didn't have to do this. And they were absolutely shocked that they were being told to discriminate in this way. And as the Daily Wire reports, the county where this took place was a county that voted 81% for Trump. Now, obviously, Washington, the supervisor, didn't know at the time what percentage of these people were going to be advertising Trump signs or support for Trump on their properties. But presumably, if they were really into Trump, you could have ended up in a situation where this person was trying to target relief in a disaster-stricken area to just 19% of the voting population. Again, if everybody advertised their beliefs on their front lawn with these signs. And this is wildly inappropriate during a storm. This is absolutely horrible during the course of a storm. Again, FEMA is supposed to be for everyone. We're supposed to chip into it with our tax dollars, and when disaster strikes, they're supposed to help us all out, or at least give us the information on how to apply for certain programs, but they didn't in this case, and it's just shameful. Now, the Daily Wire in their article has images of houses and the corresponding forms that were skipped over, and as you can see right here on your screen, it shows a pretty big and obvious Trump flag hanging from the post in front of this particular home, but in the notes in the official government reason for why they skipped over it, it reads as follows: Trump sign, no contact per leadership. Now again, if you have your power knocked out for 36 hours, you are entitled to learn about the benefits that you're entitled to under FEMA according to federal laws and regulations. But in this particular case, that appeared to be determined based on your overt display of politics, which is absolutely horrible when you think about the fact that many of these people had lost everything or were suffering serious damage to their property, and they just got cheated by their own government that purports to represent them. Now, like I said, Chad Hursley, who is Washington's FEMA supervisor, told the Daily Wire when contacted they were looking into the situation, quote, "We are aware of it and we are taking proper action in this situation currently," Hershey said. Pressed to confirm whether or not the messages were real, he said, quote, "Again, we are aware of it and we're taking action in this moment regarding the situation that you're talking about." Hershey added that FEMA would be providing a fuller statement, though none was provided by press time. He said that officials in Washington, D.C. would be reaching out to the Daily Wire. However, after publication of the story, a FEMA spokesperson told the Daily Wire it was, quote, "deeply disturbed and, quote, horrified by the employee actions, and that it has, quote, taken extreme actions to correct this situation. While we believe this was an isolated incident, we have taken measures to remove the employee from their role and are investigating the matter to prevent this from ever happening again," the spokesperson said in an emailed statement. The employee who issued the guidance had no authority and was given no direction to tell teams to avoid these homes, and we are reaching out to people who may not have been reached as a result of this incident. This matter we take extremely seriously, and we're doing everything to make sure all survivors receive support from FEMA. To date, we have helped over 365,000 households impacted by both Hurricanes Helene and Milton in the state of Florida, and we have provided over $898 million in direct assistance to survivors. Now look, they go on, and of course the statement is obviously appropriate to the situation. They talk about how they fired this person, but one of the interesting things about firing somebody in the federal government is that usually results in an appeal and an investigation, and throughout the course of this, we will eventually get the explanation that they were just reacting to the misinformation and disinformation from the evil orange man. Now that's where I'm going to leave this story. I definitely want to know what you guys think down in the comments below, and especially if you're somebody who was impacted by this storm, and maybe somebody who was in this particular area or got your home skipped over due to the fact that you dareth advertise your support for one of the leading presidential candidates, the guy who ultimately ended up destroying the other candidate in the election. As usual, if you like this video, show by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an absolute horrific scandal from FEMA. Till next time.